The scream cut through the music like glass breaking. My daughter ran into the house crying, her small hands shaking. "Mom, please don't be angry," she sobbed, pulling at my dress. Every guest froze. Forks stopped midair. Laughter died. Then she showed me what she was holding. My husband went pale. It was proof. Cold, solid proof. The kind that makes your stomach drop and your heart stop at the same time. Whispers rushed through the room like fire. My husband grabbed his keys with hands that would not stop shaking and said, "We're leaving."
Now.
Before I could speak, before I could scream, he drove us somewhere I never knew existed. No music, no lights, just a long road and secrets spilling out with every mile. When we stopped, the person sitting beside my daughter turned to me and said, "It's time you know everything she hid." And that was the moment my life split in two. If you want to know how a perfect party turned into a nightmare and how a quiet wife became a woman with nothing left to lose, stay with me. Like, watch, and subscribe because what comes next will shock you even more. My name is Sarah Miller. I used to believe I had a simple, happy life. I am a mother of one, married to David Miller, a man everyone trusted. He was kind in public, charming, the sort of man people asked for advice. Our daughter, Emily, was 9 years old. Bright eyes, soft voice, always trying to make peace. That night was meant to be perfect. We were hosting a big dinner at our home in Ohio. David said it was to celebrate his new business deal. Friends, co-workers, neighbors, our house was full. Music played. Candles glowed. I wore a blue dress David once said made me look safe. I smiled because that's what wives like me do. I didn't know it was the last time I would ever smile like that. Earlier that day, Emily had been quiet. She followed me around the kitchen, tugging at my sleeve. "Mom," she said, "can I talk to you later? Alone?" "Of course, sweetheart," I told her. "After the guests come." She nodded, but her eyes looked scared. I should have listened right then. David had been acting strange for months. Late nights, locked phone, quick anger over small things. When I asked questions, he would laugh and say, "You worry too much, Sarah." So I stopped asking. That is how lies grow. The guests arrived around 6. Laughter filled the house. David played the role he knew so well. He hugged people, told jokes, raised a glass to family and trust. I clapped with everyone else. Emily sat on the stairs, watching. Halfway through dinner, she disappeared. I didn't notice until the scream. When she ran and crying and begged me not to be angry, my heart broke. When she showed me the proof, my soul cracked.
It was a small phone.
Not hers. On the screen was a video. David. Another woman. A hotel room. And a date stamped from 3 nights ago, when he told me he was working late. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a plate. I felt my legs go weak. David shouted, "Turn that off." But it was too late. Emily cried harder.
"I found it in his car, Mom. I'm sorry."
I didn't mean to ruin everything. I pulled her close, shaking. "You didn't ruin anything," I whispered. "You told the truth." David's face twisted with fear and rage. He grabbed my arm, hard enough to hurt. "We need to go. Now." The guests watched as he dragged us outside. No one stopped him. No one spoke. In the car, silence screamed. We drove far. Past streets I knew. Past towns I had never heard of. Finally, we reached an old building near the woods.
Gray.
Hidden.
Cold.
"This is where it all started," David said. Inside, a woman waited. She sat beside Emily and looked at me with tired eyes. "My name is Laura," she said softly, "and I'm here to tell you the truth your husband buried." Emily held her hand. My knees buckled. But that story, the full truth, came later. Because before all of this, before the lies came to light, there was love. David and I met in college.
He was gentle then.
He held doors open. He listened. When he asked me to marry him, he cried. I believed those tears. We built a life. Small house. Weekend trips. Laughter in the kitchen. When Emily was born, David said, "Nothing will ever come before our family." I trusted him. I trusted him when money started going missing. I trusted him when police came once asking questions, and he said it was a mistake. I trusted him when he told me Laura was just a client. Love makes you blind, but lies always leave tracks. The extreme moment that ended my blindness came 3 weeks before the party. I was at the grocery store when 2 officers approached me. "Mrs. Miller?" one asked. "Yes. Your husband is being investigated for fraud." My world tilted. They said nothing more, just that I might be called to court. When I asked David that night, he slammed the door and shouted, "Do you want to ruin us?" I cried alone in the bathroom while Emily listened from her room. That was the day my daughter stopped feeling safe. That was the day she started looking for the truth on her own. And that search, her brave, quiet search, led her to the phone, to the video, to the proof that exploded my life in front of everyone I knew. As we stood in that hidden building by the woods, listening to Laura breathe beside my child, I realized something. This was bigger than cheating. This was crime. This was betrayal. And this was only the beginning. Because just as Laura opened her mouth to speak, police lights flashed through the dirty windows. And someone screamed, "He's under arrest." That was when I knew my revenge would not be gentle. The red and blue lights painted the walls like blood and fire. Emily screamed and hid behind me. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break my ribs. David turned slowly, his face empty, like a man who already knew this moment would come. "David Miller," a voice shouted, "you are under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and obstruction of justice." The word arrest felt unreal, like something from a movie, not my life. 2 officers stormed in. One grabbed David's arms and pushed them behind his back. The cold sound of handcuffs snapping shut echoed in the room. Guests from the party were far away now. The music, the laughter, the lies gone. Emily cried, "Daddy." David didn't look at her. That hurt more than anything else. I knelt and held her tight. "It's okay," I whispered, though nothing was okay. "Mom is here." Laura stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking. "I told them everything," she said to me. I couldn't hide anymore. David finally spoke. "You ruined me," he hissed at her. She looked straight at him. "No, David. You ruined yourself." The police pulled him toward the door. As he passed me, he leaned close and whispered, "You think you know everything? You don't. This is just the start." Then he was gone. The door slammed. Silence followed. A heavy, painful silence. One officer stayed behind and asked me to sit. He spoke gently, like I might shatter if he used the wrong word. He explained that David had been running fake businesses, stealing money from clients, and using other people's names to hide it. Laura had been one of those people.
"He used me," she said, tears falling.
"He told me he loved me. Then he put debts in my name. When I tried to leave, he threatened me." I felt sick. Emily looked up at Laura. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't know." Laura knelt to her level. "You saved me," she replied. "You saved your mom, too." That night, we went home alone. The house felt wrong. Too quiet. David's shoes were still by the door. His jacket hung on the chair. I wanted to burn everything. Emily slept in my bed, holding my hand like she used to when she was younger. I stayed awake all night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my marriage, searching for where I went wrong. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages.
Friends.
Neighbors. Family. Some said they were sorry. Some asked questions. Some blamed me. "Didn't you notice? How could you not know? Maybe you pushed him." Each message cut deeper. 2 days later, I was called to court. Walking into that courtroom felt like walking into my own funeral. David sat behind glass, wearing orange. He didn't look at me until I took the stand. When our eyes met, I felt fear and something new. Anger. Deep, burning anger. The lawyer asked simple questions. My name. My marriage. Our finances. I told the truth. Every word felt like pulling thorns from my chest. Then David's lawyer stood. Mrs. Miller, he said smoothly, isn't it true that you handled many household accounts? Yes, I answered. So you had access to the money? Yes. He smiled. Then isn't it possible you helped your husband? The room gasped. I froze. David smirked. That was the moment I understood. He was trying to drag me down with him. I did not, I said, my voice shaking but loud. I trusted my husband. That was my only crime. The judge watched closely. After hours, the court decided David would stay in jail until sentencing. But that wasn't the end. That night, as I tucked Emily into bed, she asked, Mom, are they going to take you too? My heart broke. No, I promised. I will always protect you. But promises are easy. Life is not. Weeks passed. David's name was everywhere. News. Social media. People whispered when I walked by. Emily stopped smiling at school. One day, she came home with a torn backpack. They said my dad is a thief, she cried. That was my lowest point. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I stood up. Something inside me hardened. I met Laura again. She brought files, bank records, names, proof David had hidden even from the police. He still has money, she said, and powerful friends. He plans to get out and disappear. No, I said quietly. He won't. We worked together. Nights, weekends, quiet planning, careful steps. Trust grew between us. Pain turned into strength. Then came the letter. No return address. Just 4 words written in red ink. Stop digging or she pays. My hands went numb. Inside the envelope was a photo. Emily. Taken that day. At school. Alive but watched. I screamed. And that was when I knew the next move would decide everything. The photo slipped from my fingers and landed on the floor. Emily's face stared back at me. Her pink school sweater. Her blue hair ribbon. The playground fence behind her. Someone had been close to my child. Too close. I locked the doors, pulled the curtains, and sat on the floor shaking. My mind ran wild. David was in jail, but his reach was still long. Longer than I ever imagined. Laura arrived 10 minutes later. She had already seen the photo on her phone because I sent it to her with shaking hands. They're trying to scare you, she said, but her voice trembled too. It means you're getting close. I don't care about me, I said. But they touched my daughter. That's where this ends. That night, Emily slept at my sister's house. I didn't tell her why. I kissed her forehead and smiled like everything was normal. The moment she left, my smile died. The next morning, I met with the police again. They took the letter. They took the photo. They promised protection. Promises again. But I had learned something important. When it came to David, promises meant nothing. I decided to visit him. The jail smelled like metal and sadness. When David walked in, he smiled like he was still in control. You look tired, he said. I sat down slowly. Someone is threatening my daughter. He raised his eyebrows. That's terrible. Don't, I snapped. Just don't. His smile faded. You think I did this? I think, I said calmly, that you know exactly who did. He leaned back. You're playing a dangerous game, Sarah. No, I replied. You are. And you're losing. His eyes darkened. You were nothing without me. That was the moment something inside me snapped into place. I was quiet, I said. Not nothing. There's a difference. I stood up and walked away before he could answer. Outside, I felt lighter, stronger. Laura and I moved faster after that. We gave everything to the police. Names, accounts, places. One of those places was the building near the woods, the one David took us to that night. It wasn't just a hideout. It was a meeting point, a place where deals were made and people were trapped. The police planned a raid. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I went anyway. I hid in my car, parked far away, watching officers surround the building. My heart beat so hard it hurt. If this worked, it would end everything. If it failed, I didn't want to think about that. Suddenly, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Mom, Emily's voice. My blood ran cold. Emily? Where are you? I'm scared, she whispered. A man told me you sent him. The world stopped. No, I said, fighting panic. I didn't send anyone. Where are you? Before she could answer, the call ended. I screamed. I ran to the officers, waving my phone, crying, shouting. They moved fast. Too fast. Orders flew through the air. Cars roared to life. One officer grabbed my arm. Ma'am, we believe David's partner moved early. They took your daughter. I couldn't breathe. This is my fault, I sobbed. I pushed too hard. No, Laura said, holding me. This is his last move. Hours felt like years. Then a call came. They had a location. An old house by the river. We rushed there. Police surrounded the place. I stayed behind a car, praying. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. A man was dragged out, shouting. Then another. Then a small figure ran toward me. Mom, Emily crashed into my arms. I held her so tight she laughed and cried at the same time. I was brave, she said. I remembered your words. I kissed her hair, over and over. You were so brave. I'm so proud of you. The police said the men confessed. They worked for David. He ordered the threats, the photo, the scare, all of it. When David heard the news, he broke. He tried to blame everyone. Laura,
Me.
even Emily. But the truth was louder. The court date came faster than anyone expected. This time I didn't shake. I stood tall. I spoke clearly. I told the judge everything. About the lies, the threats, the photo, the kidnapping. The courtroom was silent when I finished. David screamed.
He cried.
He begged. It didn't matter. The judge's voice was firm. David Miller, you are sentenced. I held Emily's hand as the words fell like stones.
Guilty.
Years in prison. No chance of early release. As they took him away, David turned and looked at me one last time. His eyes were empty, but I felt no fear. Only peace. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Because as I walked out of the courtroom, a woman stepped in front of me. I didn't know her. She smiled softly and said, "You did well, Sarah. But there's one thing you still don't know." My heart dropped. She leaned closer and whispered, "David didn't act alone." And that was when I realized. The final truth was still waiting. The woman's words stayed with me like a shadow. David didn't act alone. For 2 days, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt like danger. Every stranger looked guilty. I kept Emily close, holding her hand even when she said, "Mom, I'm okay now." But mothers know. I met the woman again at a small cafe. Her name was Margaret. She looked normal. Kind even. That scared me the most. "I was David's first wife," she said quietly. My chest tightened. "He didn't tell you about me," she continued, "because he ruined my life." She told me everything. David had done to her what he tried to do to me. Only worse. He framed her for his crimes years ago. She went to jail. Lost her child. Lost her name. When she got out, she changed everything about herself and waited. "I followed his trail," Margaret said. "When I saw you and your daughter, I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore." Tears filled my eyes. "Why didn't you come earlier?" "Because I needed proof," she replied. "And now, I have it." She slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything," she said. "Hidden accounts. Names of partners. Judges he bribed. Officers he paid." My hands shook. That night, I made a choice. I would not run. I would not hide. I would finish this. With Laura and Margaret, I went back to the police, this time federal agents. The kind that don't get scared. The kind that don't get bought. They listened. Then they moved. Quiet arrests. Silent warrants. One by one, David's partners fell. Men in suits. Smiling faces on TV. All gone. The news exploded. Major crime network exposed. Woman's testimony brings down corrupt ring. They called me brave. but bravery wasn't what I felt. I felt free. David tried to fight it from prison. He sent letters, pages and pages of blame and anger. I never opened them. At his final court hearing, he didn't look powerful anymore. He looked small. The judge spoke slowly. David Miller, due to new evidence, your sentence is extended to life imprisonment. The room was silent. David screamed. I didn't flinch. As they took him away forever, he looked at me one last time. I leaned forward and whispered, "You should have left my daughter alone." That was my revenge. Not anger. Not shouting. Justice. Months passed. Emily smiled again. She laughed. She slept through the night. One evening, she hugged me and said, "Mom, we're safe now, right?" "Yes," I said, holding her close. "We are." Laura started over too. Margaret reunited with her grown son. And me? I went back to school. Studied law. Because I learned something important. Silence protects the guilty. And I would never be silent again. Our house feels warm now. Peaceful. Honest. Sometimes I still remember that night, the party, the scream, the proof. But now, when I look at my daughter, I don't see fear. I see strength. And I smile. Because the woman who once trusted blindly is gone. In her place stands a mother who fought back and won.